What's good? What's good?
What up, Dave? How you doing?
This is my last chance. I hear you've been watching some Last Chance U over there.
No, yeah, I actually watched the whole thing in 2 days. I should have finished it in one, but I only got to finish it in two. Yeah, man. Disclaimer: I'm pretty sure everyone that is watching the pod has probably seen everything already, but maybe this is just a little bit biased on everything, or maybe it just hits too deep to home. But I enjoyed the football one way more than I enjoyed this one. Only reason is because I think there was more drama and excitement for these kids in the football area. And it literally is, I want to say, their last chance in the football area of this, Last Chance U series. It's football. People getting hurt every week. And then that could actually end your season. Basketball, I think there's more of a chance to not get hurt, even though you could get hurt frequently, whether it be in practice, in the game, or whatever. But no, there was really no drama as far as that goes. No one got really hurt and had to sit out for weeks on end.
See, I didn't even know you watched the football Last Chance U.
Oh no, yeah, that one's interesting to me because, but I always thought they should have done basketball also. But because you could have easily done summer and have the football stuff before the season, and then right now have in spring have basketball be the thing. I thought they could have always done that, but I guess the crew just had to figure it out. I don't know why I don't think they're ever going to do football again. I'm curious why. Maybe they might go back to it. Who knows? I know they had a lot of issues with Buddy, and they had a lot of issues with Jason Brown. And it kind of sucked to see the last coach in California, in San Francisco or around that area, him only get one season and not get another chance to see how that went. Because I thought there was some really good storylines to that. There was a kid that was living out of his car.
He actually got picked up by Hawaii. He got that scholarship.
That's what I'm saying. That cool. And I thought that was, I think we could have definitely built upon that program at least one more season and then maybe transition to basketball or done it at the same time. But like I said, maybe this just hits too close to home. Just my own basketball journey and my personal experience with it. One of the main players on that team, his name was Joe Hampton. He was a five-star recruit out of high school. Went to Oak Hill, so he was at a big-time high school program. The kid was always told he was great, all this and that. There's nothing wrong with telling a kid how great they are. I just think you got to also manage ego.
Right.
Because he did get ahead of himself, it looked like, throughout his career from high school on to college when he went to Penn State. Got kicked out for literally failing every drug test that you could think of. Now, me personally, people have their own opinion on it. I could care less about people's opinion. I could care less if you smoke it or not smoke it. That's your opinion. That's your prerogative. You have the choice to do it. But if it's rules and you get drug tested, you can't do it. You know what I'm saying? They're rules for a reason, whether you agree with them or not, they're rules. So if they're going to drug test you and you're going to keep doing it and getting caught and everything like that, yeah, the program's going to get rid of you. I don't like how they made it seem like it was his last chance when he was given multiple opportunities at Penn State to get help. That's on him, in my opinion. That's why it kind of went bad for him. And then if you keep watching, the show, he doesn't start at all. I don't think the whole season, maybe a game or two, but he doesn't start. Because he's the one that called the coach at East LA Community College. So the coach didn't recruit him. He's the one that called them. And as we all know, if you go to a coach and you're the one that's calling them, they don't really care about you. Yeah, they'll be happy to take you on as a talent, but they don't care. They didn't invest in you. They didn't put their whole program into you to get you on their team. You came and sought them out. And I think he didn't get that. Granted, maybe he's I want to say he's maybe 21, maybe 22, because they said he was about out of playing ball for 4 years, if I'm correct. I'm hearing that. But yeah, I don't agree with him thinking that he should have just been the man right away because he was from a Division I player down. It doesn't work like that. Coaches, if all y'all know, coaches, no matter how good you are, if they didn't put any money into you, if they didn't invest in you, if they didn't recruit you personally, they're not going to care. They're not going to put any kind of effort into getting you better. Yeah, they'll play you here and there and like hope you produce for them, but they don't really care. So I had an issue with that, with him personally wanting everything to come to him when he had it from a young age on until he saw in college at Penn State, like they're not going to give him that. If you coming from a bigger program and they're not going to give you that respect, what makes you think a coach that you called at a junior college level is going to give you that kind of respect? That's not how it works. That's at least for me seeing that from my experience also.
Well, and that's full disclosure, I haven't seen one iota of Last Chance U basketball. I have no inclination to watch it. I've been told it's pretty good. But like you said, it hits really close to home. We both played college ball. I played at the JUCO level and maxed out there before I got hurt, for those of you who don't know. And we're probably going to touch on some parallels of what that show brings and our own careers. Like you talked about, we actually have personal experience with this. And so, yeah, I don't know who Joe Hampton is. I don't know who anybody is.
Well, he's definitely outside of anything we know from high school at that time. So,
right. So, but one thing so you said he went to Oak Hill?
Yeah.
Okay. So that alone is a powerhouse. And,
sure.
You feel entitled coming out of Oak Hill, thinking, and then obviously having offers and probably being ranked in the ESPN top 100 or whatever.
I think he was a top 10 or 15 recruit.
So he was legit. He was like a top 20, like you said, top 20 guy.
Exactly. And this might beef with all this too. Like, you're so freakishly athletic, tall, and you have all the skills and given every opportunity in the world. Right. And you let, and I get it, everyone has an ego. That's just what happens as you grow and, you try to find yourself. People have egos. My thing is, parents gotta stop telling their kids that they're the greatest thing in the world. And I'm not a parent and I'm not one to shit on someone. If they want to hype their kid up, that's fine. But you also got to have reality as far as like, if you don't, like how he had the reality check that he thought he was just going to get away with whatever he wanted to at Penn State and think it was just going to be okay. That's not how it works. Once you kind of rub a coach the wrong way, they're kind of done with you at that point.
No, yeah. And let's touch on that a little bit because, me and you've played with the best of the best in Arizona and, we played at a really high level going through high school and club ball and stuff like that. And I'd like to preface that by saying we were sort of I'd like to say the era before Ball is Life really took off, where you could kind of go viral on YouTube with a mixtape and then get scholarships and stuff like that, where, high school ball still mattered in a sense. And I'm not going to name any names, but we both know people who've gone to places where they didn't really deserve to get there, or people who've had parents kind of boost them up and then, they couldn't really cut it. So we might get into some, like I said, without naming any names, some specifics of experiences that we've had. But a 6'8" kid, you said from Oak Hill, ranked top 15. You said got somewhere into some
around there. I'm not for sure top 15, but he was definitely he was a 5-star recruit for sure.
And then so it kind of and then you said he got kicked off the team for drugs.
That's what they kind of made it seem, and like they were throwing out there that he just kept getting in trouble.
Yeah, just didn't have his head on straight, kind of a thing.
Yeah. He thought he was going to the league right away.
And yeah, that's one of the problems is when you are told your whole life that, you're handed the keys to the league, you might not be held accountable and you don't have that responsibility to you know, like a lot of these guys, the first adversity that they really face is in college. Um,
Mhm.
I think I can think of someone specific, like I said, without naming any names. But they're given the keys their whole life, and then they get to college, and now not only are you not the guy like you were your whole life, but the whole team has recruited big time recruits that are even bigger than you. And then once you're there, the year after you, they're still recruiting, bringing in dudes. And so if you go from your high school team averaging 25 a game, all state, and then you go somewhere to a big time program and you're 10th man. Like a lot of kids don't understand that. They can't even kind of process that ever happening to them, because you think,
Right.
and you could say, I'm a competitor, I'm going to compete, I'm going to earn the job. No, a lot of people want it handed to them. And when you go to that big time program and there's a 5-star top 10 dude that plays your position that they recruited from the next year, and you have a pretty good, freshman season, all of a sudden that dude comes in, whether he's better than you or not, they might hand him the keys, or you guys duke it out. And then some people just bring other things to the table. So you're now that big fish, in a big pond. And a lot of guys don't know how to handle that. And having a vice like drugs, speculated or whatnot, um, or just not having respect for authority. And granted, me, I've gotten kicked off my fair share of teams. I do not have a great respect for authority when respect isn't given back to me. So a little hypocritical here, but at some point you got to know how to play the game. You know what I mean? And if you have those vices on top of having a sense of entitlement and ego, like you said, it don't matter if you're 6'8", can dunk between the legs. All those, it could be a perfect storm, and then all of a sudden you're off that big program.
Yeah.
And so we've seen it countless times. It's a cautionary tale for sure. And I guess good thing he's on Last Chance U. I don't think it's his last chance. Like you said, talking off air, he's had multiple chances, even up until this point. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I've just seen that so many times before.
I know for sure. And like the kid's now at Long Beach State. I think he averaged maybe 8-9 points this past season. So, and that's not getting him into the league. Like he's not. I don't think he was ever considered. Granted, he was a top 5 recruit out of high school. That's cool, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be in the league. It doesn't. Look at Damian Lillard, wasn't even a. I think it was a 2-3 star maybe when he was in high school, and look at him now, one of the best players in the league. So none of that really matters. We know tons of people that were 5, 4, 3-star recruits and told they were all this and that, and nothing happened. I mean, yeah, they played some, maybe some overseas ball, but the expectation that they had was to be that they were going to the league. And there's nothing wrong with having those expectations. I think we've all dreamed about it. We've all, worked and hard to try to maybe one day get that accomplished. But, shit happens. Sometimes you're just not that good. Sometimes, just not right in the right position. It's just what it is. And I don't know, the kid just, I don't know. Yeah, he had all the talent in the world. And for him to just kind of like not listen and anything like that just really pissed me off and rubbed me really the wrong way, pause, because I just feel like it's not that hard to not just to listen to simple direction, especially when coaches are willing to work with you, when they're giving you opportunity to just try to better yourself. And all you gotta do is listen. That's what it made it seem like. He said he just didn't want to listen. He wanted to go and do his own thing. Like whenever he got in trouble and he get pissed off and frustrated. But I mean, that's on you. At a certain point, you're an adult. At 18, I know 18 really isn't considered an adult because you're still trying to learn. But that's just what comes with it. At that point, you're in college, you're trying to figure out your life, and you got to make smarter decisions. Yeah, you make better decisions as we grow up and try to, mature. But nah, I think someone had to tell him or put him in his place and sometime and just be like, yo, you gotta listen. You gotta listen to your coach. Your coaches are trying to help you out. They brought you here for a reason, and they invested into you. But that just really pissed me off about the kid.
Well, I will say this. Oh, go ahead.
I hope him nothing but the best. I mean, I'm never gonna like shit on someone and make it seem like they don't deserve. Because I mean, he's obviously a D1 talent. At a certain point, someone thought he could have went pro. If he was a 5-star recruit out of high school, because we know in today's basketball, even in high school, like if you're ranked that high, they're at least somewhat thinking you might crack the NBA at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So someone maybe had the idea that he might. I mean, he has the build. He is skilled, and it just is what it is. But yeah, if someone puts all that effort into you, all you gotta do is listen. There's no wrong way around it. And I think that it really wasn't his last chance. I think he probably would have got another chance if this didn't work out for him. I'm more than positive someone would have gave him another chance.
Well, I think, and hearing you talk about him, and yeah, like all he had to do was listen. He's handed these opportunities, because of his talent, and his ranking and where he went to high school and stuff like that. What's frustrating to people like me and you, or you and I, whatever the grammar may be, is, we weren't necessarily given opportunities like that. And so to see people who may or may not deserve them, and who squander the said opportunities because of their own, self-sabotage or ego or entitlement or whatever. And we sit back and we think, man, like, you don't realize how lucky, you are. And I'd like to think we were talented basketball players. And we even got the run around, after your playing days, in New Mexico, you got the run around at the JUCO level.
Yeah.
And you didn't have the pedigree of a D1 transfer even. And it almost didn't come down to how good you were, like how actual good you were at basketball. Like you said, at the beginning of the pod, what matters most is if they're investing in you. And, certain players are given different opportunities. One instance, obviously I played basketball at Chandler Gilbert Community College. And we had a guy in for a workout, who could absolutely jump out the gym. And he couldn't hit the side of a barn door for his jump shot, but he could dunk between his legs like it was, while eating a piece of toast. And I remember the coaches, for this little private workout, just going bananas, slobbing over this dude. Like, the assistant coaches were like, oh my gosh, I've never seen, if we get this kid, it's over. You know what I mean? And he wanted, my coach wanted to pair him with me and a couple other players. And his talent, his athletic talent alone was going to give him opportunities that, like, you may never get, which is ridiculous. Sure. Because when we played 2-on-2, 3-on-3 in an actual game setting and not just layup lines,
he wasn't doing any of that.
He wasn't doing nothing. You know what I mean?
He had like maybe 1 or 2 fast breaks.
Yeah.
That's about it. Every other, he couldn't hit a jumper. He couldn't really get past anybody.
Right. And like, so on a fast break, 2-on-1, throw it up, the kid's electric, but, and here's the thing. I think in basketball, especially in this era, dunking is put on a pedestal. Athletic ability is put on a pedestal that it really should not be at all, because a layup is 2 points. Between the legs, windmill, cockback, scorpion dunk is worth 2 points too. And how many times do people really dunk in game that you couldn't just get a layup otherwise? You know what I mean? So when I would guard this kid, I'm sitting in the paint waiting for him to come to me. I know he's just going to barrel into me or do a Euro. He was extremely easy to guard. And he can't, like I said, he can't shoot at all. And so if he doesn't have a clear path runway for a dunk, for a highlight reel play, the kid is just obsolete. Now, he had a little bit of ego too. When you can dunk between your legs and do crazy shit like that, you have an ego. People at the gyms, people at the parks, coaches, again, they're slobbering. Like, they're salivating at, oh my gosh, this kid is so good. But so he's probably being told how good he is his whole life. Maybe he could just go past, the high school level and just dunk on people. I don't know. But when you're told that over and over, and this kid wasn't a D1 transfer, he didn't even have the grades. He just wanted to fuck bitches and then get money and dunk. And so he actually didn't even end up playing, and he came all the way out here to play. And so imagine what the ego is like for a 5-star, for a D1 player, for a D1
Oh, for sure.
transfer. And like I said earlier, I've gotten kicked off multiple teams. From my demeanor right now, I may sound like a pretty nice, nerdy guy, but I had an ego back in the day. I don't want a coach telling me something, so I butted heads with a lot of coaches myself, but so I can't imagine what these kids must be thinking when a coach, is telling them one thing and they're just, they're thinking I'm just one and done going to the league, and that's just not necessarily the case.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, I mean that's my little rant with that guy. Like I said, wish the guy the best. Another player, I'll give this guy a little credit. Some was Deshaun Hyler. Hyler? Yeah, Deshaun Hyler. Their point guard. He was a D1 transfer, but he never got a full ride. He was a walk-on after his senior year of high school. At I think it was UTEP. And he worked his ass off, but he got a scholarship at, I want to say, the end of the season when he was like his freshman year. But then the whole coaching staff, I think, got fired, and the AD didn't want to bring him back. So that just is what it is. But I mean, now right there goes to show you, when you're not recruited by the school, they want nothing to do with you. The reason I'm saying this is because I want kids to know that that is a thing. I'm pretty sure it's happened to the best of us, no matter whether it be club, high school, no matter how hard you work. That doesn't mean anything if the coaching staff doesn't believe in you and they're not going to put something in the investment in you. You could be, like I said, you could, like this kid, like the Joe Hamilton, like you could be the best kid the best player on the team. They're not going to play you. They're not going to start you. They'll give you some minutes and let you do your thing, but you're not going to get the attention you want. And with this kid, I mean, I feel for him because he worked his ass off. He is a hard worker from like what the show shows and what he was saying. But yeah, that doesn't. I mean, he wanted to invest in himself and take that leap and just walk on and earn a scholarship, which he did. But that doesn't mean nothing unless the AD, the coaching staff, are fully behind you. That's what that really means. Unless that happens, then no one's gonna really care. You're expendable to them. They'll let you go. And I think it was probably his last chance because he did take advantage. He did end up transferring to East LA, and he made it work for himself. He ended up getting a scholarship to Sacramento, and made the best out of it. So I'll give that kid kudos because he did work his ass off from what they showed and said. But I mean, again, it's a lesson to be learned that if the coaching staff does not have your back, or even if the program just doesn't have your back, they're gonna let you go.
What position was this kid?
He was the point, but
the light-skinned dude.
He was the point, but he was more of the two. I saw no two skills in him. I think I saw more one. He was like maybe 6'2", 6'3", a little like real lanky. Maybe 6'4". I never really got a full, gist of his height, but nothing crazy. He wasn't like super athletic, didn't really jump out the gym, but I had some athleticism. Worked hard, dove for loose balls, got tips and shit like that. Wasn't really a great shooter because towards the mid-season he had a slump, like a really bad slump where like it didn't look like he came back from. But he was just a hard worker, and he was really like a floor general. So I would say he was more of a 2 than he was more of a 1 than he was the 2, even though that they were saying he was a shooter. I didn't see that. He didn't look like he was a shooter. It didn't look like he took enough shots for me to, or at least they didn't, because it's a documentary, so they're not going to show the whole game. So maybe he was a better shooter than what they showed, but they said that he did have, even the assistant coach, like he's just in a slump right now and he has to shoot his way out of it.
Well, yeah, from how you're describing this kid, Hyler, was it?
Yeah.
Cool name. If you're tuning in, Hyler, cool name. yeah, from what he sounds like is a, like you keep saying, hard worker, worked his
Mhm.
ass off. And me and you both know a ton of those kind of guys. And typically, um, you get to a point where, the old saying, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't want to work hard. Um, at some point, when talent works hard, the people who just work hard have no chance. Um, you do need to have some actual talent. Um, and I've seen it a lot where a player arguably the hardest worker in the gym, but they just don't have, whether it be an intelligence for the game, or the hand-eye coordination, the reflexes. It doesn't always just have to be athleticism or speed or size. Um, when you don't have those intangibles, just from you're born with that gift, with certain gifts. When you just have a high motor, and maybe I'm just taking this out of context of what you're saying about he works hard, um, but those people have ceilings.
Mhm.
And if you don't have any of the attributes that scouts drool over for potential, or if you can't somehow put together those other innate abilities, I think it's unfortunate that hard work can only take you so far. So kudos to him, like you said, for getting to Sacramento, I believe it was, you said.
Yeah.
Um, and but at the same time, um, just being the hardest worker is not gonna. And how many people have you seen who's like, who thinks they're the hardest worker, and A, they're not, but B, think that they're gonna go play somewhere? Because at some point it's delusional to think that so and so can play like overseas even, or NBA or whatever. Like, you do have to kind of be somewhat of a realist at some point. Um, and I think one of the problems with basketball is there's a hubris, there's an ego. One of the things I don't like about it is the ego aspect of basketball, and having to compete within your own team to climb the ranks, to get to the next level. And I don't know how much, you know, your career was impacted by this. But I've had teammates straight up not pass me the rock because they want the shine. You know what I mean? And that's one of the struggles at the JUCO level. There's a
And that, and I mean, let me
Go
cut
ahead.
you off. That's what they definitely do say, that the JUCO level is really just about that. And oh, I'm sorry, another point.
Okay.
I never really had that. Someone want to really take the shine like that. I want to say I had some pretty good teammates. You being one of them.
Hey, appreciate you.
Don't get me wrong, I get it. It's a whole like we all want to fight and be the one to move on to that next level. So I get the competitive aspect of it. Sometimes it can be overdone. But no, something like you've had, I probably never had unless it was at a fucking showcase where everyone's trying to do their own thing. Other than that, not really as far as team goes. But sorry, just I had to cut you off because they did mention that in the show that we're in a JUCO compared to any other division as far as NAIA, D2, D3, Division One. They said that JUCO is probably it's all about me because it is a JUCO. You want to get the hell out of there. You don't really want to be there.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
that just to add on to your point.
Well, and that actually takes me back to the high school. You said like showcase. Yeah, I feel like at some point in basketball, whether it's at the high school level or JUCO, everything's a showcase. You're trying to showcase your talent to get to the next level, which is why I always had that burning passion to get to the professional level as quick as I could. So then we're making money, and that's your payoff. You know what I mean? Whether you're averaging 8 points or 2 points, the incentives aside or whatever. But like, everyone's trying to get to that next level, and it just brings back a memory. In a showcase in high school, uh, how ridiculous it is. I was playing. I'll name drop. I was on Terrell Stoglin's team, or Stoglin, however you pronounce his last name. It's my dog Terrell, Sporting Chance, in Tucson. It's your boy, not mine. And me and Terrell used to go at it as kids. But he played at Santa Rita Ranch or whatever in Tucson. And ended up being a pretty good recruit, like a big time recruit. And we spent years playing AAU ball, hadn't seen him in a while. Go to this showcase. I'm on Terrell's team. I'm point guard or wing. He's a point guard who has, more publicity than me. And the way now Terrell, he led the ACC in scoring in college at Maryland.
I want to say as a freshman and
yeah.
I want to say maybe, but for sure as a sophomore, maybe freshman, but for sure as a sophomore.
Yeah. So in hindsight, he has all the reason to have the ball in his hands, right? Like, I mean, he can put the pill in the basket. I think he played for Olympiacos. Like, the dude carved out, a career for himself.
For sure.
He's legit. And who am I, right? I'm just a childhood rival from back in the day. But at this showcase, so he's this big time recruit and I'm this nobody. And, but the way people treated him was like Jimmer and Steph Curry in college. Like, he has the rock. And luckily, since I knew him, he would give me the ball a little bit, but like, it was his world. And so he's going to come down and do what he needs to do to shine and just to keep his rep up. And then you had on that team alone, I can remember a couple different people. They went and played pro ball, whether in Mexico or overseas, went and played college ball. So all of them are trying to get their shine. And I'm playing with this dude who's going to go play at Maryland. And my high school teammate was on my showcase team too. And then me. And so there's only one basketball and all of us are trying to shine. Let's say there's a sports writer there or whatever. Like, so when you get that on your own team, especially like in the confines of a season, you can see how the ego and like things can go south in a hurry. And you remember the open runs at Chandler Gilbert. There's a player, I'll name drop him. His name is Jack Fuck. That's not his real name, but this dude,
this kid was wild.
Like, he thought he was going to have the keys to drive the Jeep. There's a difference. See, and this is what I'm talking about, hard work and talent. He can work hard, good shooter. But he had an ego with no merit at all. There was zero reason for him to have this ego that he had. And, this dude was on the team the year before. So he's thinking, like I said, this is his team. But reality check time, son. Like, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to prove to everybody that this Jack Fuck is not, this is not the guy. And we clashed for a long time until, you got to be put in your place. And you have to have that reality check. Like, man, there's people that are just better than me. Hard work only takes you so far. But the thing too is, he was at Chandler Gilbert. My coach said to my face, you're the best player in the gym, but that doesn't mean you're going to get the playing time. Your freshman year, you might not even play in games. You might only average 4 or 5 minutes a game. What did I do? I played the game. I said, yes, sir. I'm just trying to get an opportunity. I knew I was the best player in the gym, but you can't go into a situation. You do have to prove it. You know what I mean? You can't just be handed things, especially when you're not their hand-picked guy, when they're not going to your high school saying, hey, please come here, please come here. And so, but, clashing within your own team, I got war stories all day about teammates just not wanting to, give you the ball and whatnot. And like, those hardworking guys, the ones who don't have an ego and are team first, great teammates. I can list off a bunch of players like that too. But then those guys who think they have, it all boils down to ego and entitlement. And
sure,
like you said off air, sometimes it's parents in their ear. Sometimes it's coaches. Sometimes you have a 40-point game in front of an ESPN scout and ride that wave all the way to college. But I think it's a dangerous game. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say that? But there's a dangerous game, and people need to humble themselves. And I think at the very least, this show is showcasing that. Or from at least that's what it sounds like.
No, but I mean, like I said, it does seem somewhat like that. And I get it. The coach is a good coach that they have. She really changed the program around from what they're showing. Just hasn't won a state title. I think they said this past year during the COVID was the year that they probably were going to win it all. They went, I think, 30 or 31-1 throughout the season. So it was playoff time, and then right when COVID hit, that's when everything got canceled. Playoff goes. But just a lot of that just goes to seeing, like, you have to have the right. Everything has to be in the right situation for you, no matter how good you are or how hard you work. Like, I've seen it all. I've done it all. I've as far as basketball goes, I seen the hardest player not get an opportunity. I seen the hardest player get an opportunity. I've seen the best player in the gym not get an opportunity. Seen the best player get the opportunity. Like I said, it all just depends on who you know, and that's a big thing about this as far as recruiting goes. It's all about who you know. And if you know none of these people, you're not going to get any kind of opportunity at all. And if you don't know nobody right now, no matter how old you are, if you're in your 20s, mid-20s, whatever, if you don't know anybody right now to help you get to that next level, it's never going to happen.
Right.
That's a clear thing. Like, how I got to Montana, Coach Silsby, your coach at Chandler Gilbert. I went to the open gyms. He looked at my transcripts and saw that I couldn't play at a JUCO. I already had 2 years already gone, so I had to go somewhere else. He came from an NAI school in Montana, and he offered to, give me a number to one of his former players and coaches out there. So it's really about who you know. Granted, that situation was a shitty ass situation, not just for me, but for the other 60 players that got recruited. Because the head coach was a fuck, and y'all could tell him whatever. He ain't doing nothing for me right now, but
well, no, and maybe maybe not fully on this pod, but we should take a pod and talk about our careers a little bit, and get into some, like, for those of, I guess, who don't know, who, I don't want to say who we are, but like what kind of really went on with our basketball careers, because me and you both had aspirations to make the NBA.
Like I said, I think everyone does who plays the sport. You know what I'm saying?
Right, and I think that's what you should strive for. I mean, my motto is high aspirations, low expectations. Partly because of basketball. I mean, aspire to be the best or one of the best, or make an impact in whatever field or whatever thing you choose to do. But the low expectations part has come from all the adversity I've faced in basketball from my 20 plus years experience. And like I said, we know each other's stories inside and out, but a lot of people, will see us hooping at a gym and ask, like, maybe back in the day, like, oh, where you play at, or where did you play? Or why didn't it work out? And
or if you're playing, like, where at? They'll ask those kind of questions.
Yeah. And it's sometimes, I'll delve deep into it and, explain, but then other times I just kind of, injuries got to us. Like, that's kind of what I just kind of say at this point.
Same.
But opportunity,
knee surgery, ankle surgery. So,
yeah. So, like, not only was injuries played obviously a big role in finally us shutting it down, but it was opportunity and our situations. And I think it would be interesting, like I said, maybe not on this pod, but to really delve into some of that, get that out there for people to really get to know us better from, like, why we're talking from the perspectives that we do, that we have, because we played against the top of the top, growing up. From those of you who see our Instagrams or see us at the gym now, we're shells of ourselves. I tried to dunk today at Freestone Park. Didn't get over the rim. It was embarrassing.
If we were to take really a hard 3 months, obviously I think we get back to it. But that's also counting, the 3 days that I don't have time for.
And I don't.
My life and career. You know what I'm saying?
I hate running. I have always hated running to the degree of playing elite basketball. So, um, yeah, I'm never gonna get back to what I used to be. But yeah, I think if people were interested in that, in hearing like more of our story, individual stories, like I said, I dropped a little bit of personal experiences here on this pod. But that just last chance you, just like I said, it hits too close to home. So like I don't want to say been there, done that, but it's like, those kinds of stories in that situation. I can just already envision the practices and the meetings and how the players are treated and what they think of that level and ego and all that. So it's just why I've kind of stayed away from that show. But yeah, I'm interested to know if people really want to know more about our careers. Because I'm sure we've had to explain ourselves more than we'd like to on why we're not in the NBA right now, averaging 30 points a game.
Well, if you don't want to know, we're still going to tell you. But also give some more shout out to some of the other players on the team. KJ Allen was a 6'6" power forward. They just have him written down as forward, but he definitely was a power forward. Kid could, had a decent mid range. Definitely couldn't shoot the three, and if he did, he didn't take many of them. But no, super athletic, crazy, had a bunch of posters that they were showing. High motor. He actually signed, I think, this season with USC. So actually a Pac-10 player or Pac-12 player. So he actually has some talent with him. My opinion, he was the better player on the team. I think he was even. My opinion, I do think he was probably better than Joe Hampton. The only reason being is because he's younger. I mean, he was playing consistently. It wasn't like he took a 4-year hiatus and then just came back. Maybe if Joe didn't, it might be different. But no, that kid was definitely the better player, the best player on the team, in my opinion. Maybe not as skilled because Joe was a better 3-point shooter, I'd say, and maybe had a little bit more footwork. But no, this kid was definitely the better player. If I said Joe was the better player on the team, I mean, that's just what the show intended for him. Even the coaches said he was the best player on the team.
Right.
I didn't think so. I thought this dude KJ was. He definitely had the skill, to be a Division I player, especially in the Pac-10, Pac-12. I mean, being 6'6" and being able to do the things he was able to do. Don't think he'll be the NBA. Maybe he might. Maybe someone will take a chance on him, but I do see him probably being a pro overseas or something like that. But no, kid could play. It was high, like I said, high motor, get up and down the floor. He did look a little overweight, but the kid was just going at it and he was tough. Another kid who actually started over Joe, Malik Muhammad. Kid had him going to Central Michigan. Was just really athletic and could do whatever you needed him to do. You know what I'm saying? He's like one of those players. Like he was going to go out there and just play hard.
Like a glue guy.
He was a center. So there's not much in today's NBA that you need from the centers, or today's basketball that you need from a center as far as just getting blocks, the hustle points. And that's kind of what he did. Whereas Joe was giving you more of the flash and like his more offensive game. But no, this kid was more of a defensive player, as a rebounder. He's going to hustle for you. And don't get me wrong, he could put the ball in the basket. But no, that kid definitely, I think, in my opinion, deserved to start over Joe because they did recruit him. It wasn't like this. And I think this kid's been with us since he was a freshman. So it was a sophomore season. Mm. And, yeah, I think the kid deserved to start over Joe. I didn't think, and like I said, if Joe called them, asking them to be on their team, I mean, yeah, this kid already put his dues in. He put his one season already with the team and showed that he deserved to start. Granted, whether Joe was more skilled than him, the kid put his dues in and he was the better player and the better fit for the team. So don't always think just because, you have to be a fit for the team too. So this kid definitely fit the team for what they needed. And got him a Division I scholarship.
Yeah, no, I actually, I mean, that last part is that's a interesting thing about how this kid put in his dues. He might fit the mold of what they're looking for, make the team better. So Joe played center at 6'8", but I'm assuming he's more of a wing type player.
Oh yeah, well, like I said, it
Or
did forward center, but I mean,
okay, well, because like for example, I'm 6'5". I could play the five at a JUCO level, but I'm a point guard, so I look at height as like an indicator of what position you just should be determined by. But so no, it makes I get the point. The sentiment of you said Malik, was it?
yeah,
He puts in his dues. He's been there a year. It's sort of like a Joakim Noah type role from what it sounds like. A hard worker, and is a great role player, knows his role, does everything the right way. My concern is, especially like I said, kind of the repetitive theme, the reoccurring theme here is, everyone's still trying to get to that next level. And so Joe, from what it sounds like, he is the better player. He has the higher ceiling. He has the more talent, maybe even the more skill. So him coming from a D1 program, obviously he's got the ego, but he might have the merit for the ego because he is a better player. And so I can sort of relate to that in a sense where, there was players at my junior college that put their dues in, weren't bad players, helped the team, were good role players. But it wasn't my fault that I was better than them. It was up to the coach to make that decision. And like I said, my coaches were initially hesitant and they made me earn that position. And I did. But from what it sounds like is Joe didn't want to have to earn it. Am I correct in saying that? Like he thought he should just be given that.
no, yeah. I think even the coaches mentioned that a little bit, that he just wanted to be given the opportunity to just start, but that's not how he was gonna. That's how the coach wasn't gonna run his program. Like I would play for this coach.
Okay.
His name was John. Forgot his name. John Mosley. A really good coach. They were putting some spew out there that he could be a Division I coach. I don't see that. I don't think he could coach a Division I program. I think it takes a special kind of person to coach a Division I program. I'm not saying he doesn't have it, but he still is fairly young. They said this was like his 8th year coaching, and I don't think they're just going to let an 8-year man who coached a JUCO just automatically go up the ranks to a Division I program and coach and be a coach. I still think he has a lot to learn as a coach.
Did he play anywhere?
So he did play at this school, at the junior college, and then he ended up going to the D2 school, I want to say, maybe NAI. I can't remember. I didn't really pay too much attention to like that little part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
He did play. He said he played overseas ball just because he was talking shit to the kids, but they never really had any proof.
But see here, and not to cut you off, but to me, and how do you feel about this? Is when I am talking to a coach, I don't. I have a little bit of an ego in the sense that I don't want to be told to do something by someone who can't do it themselves, or they should have the presence in mind that to know that they can't do it and to kind of have that respect for you, knowing that, for example, you're better than what they ever could accomplish. And in high school, obviously now being an adult, I'm aware that a 16-year-old kid is never going to win that battle against a high school coach that says, like the high school coach is going to have that ego and you don't want to be told anything by a 16-year-old kid. But at the JUCO level, and one thing that was prevalent in my career, and I'm sure that they build on the show, was everyone's there for a reason. There's bumps in the road, like, even the Hampton kid, everything. If these kids would have had the career that they wanted to have, they'd be at D1, they'd be at a different college. You know what I mean? So they're all there for a reason because there was adversity in their careers for whatever reason that may be. But having a coach who's played instantly gives you some credibility to what you're saying and to identify with those players. Have you ever felt like you got this bum ass coach who never played a day in his life of real basketball, having an ego, trying to tell his team how to do this, what to do that. And did you ever find it hard to play for someone who kind of didn't know what they were doing? You're an intelligent basketball player. You know more than coaches in a sense. So
Oh yeah.
did you ever, and whether you let like your ego, create a rift is another thing, but don't you feel like there is a sense of respect, like a mutual respect when a coach has played or has that credibility?
So for me
How do you
personally,
feel?
I don't think any of the coaches even. No, I've had assistant coaches that played overseas.
Okay.
And I listen to them in effect in the sense that when we're doing individuals or we're doing skill work, that's where I'm taking more of their knowledge. As far as head coaches, I don't think I've had any that played overseas or played any kind of pro ball. Most of my coaches were skill coaches that I could recall that have played professional basketball,
Mm-hmm.
and I respect their knowledge as that goes. As far as any head coach that I've played with or played for, um, I I would listen. Don't get me wrong, but if I saw something within the game that didn't have to go with what they were saying, obviously I'm gonna make that better decision. Um, but like I said, mostly I'm gonna listen to the guy that had played because he's gonna know what it takes to get there. As far as in game, me personally, I think we're seeing it now, where even high school and I mean college is kind of already, I think, made that transition, even though there's still somewhat some plays ran, but I think in high school now it's making that transition to where coaches don't need to really call out plays. You just kind of have like, and that's just what the NBA is too. Like they'll call out a play here and there, but it's mostly, the better player, the better team's going to do what they got to do, and they're just going to go run and gun and play pass cut basketball. That's kind of what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that as a player. I'm okay with that because I think it kind of fits, an up and down kind of pace game. Catch and shoot, off the dribble, get to the basket, fast break. If we're sitting there trying to slow down and run plays, I don't think that's gonna work. I've never really seen it work with me as far as like college goes. I probably had one good team that I played with in college, and that was my freshman year. I didn't play that year because I had an ankle injury, but the team was like, I think we really all got along. I don't think we really had any. There was really no issues. So I would say that team in New Mexico was probably one of the better teams I played with that really had no issues with anybody. We all pretty much got along. We all really kicked it with each other. And yeah, I mean, even with the coaching staff, I think it was pretty cool. So I don't think there was really no button heads with coaching staff or not seeing anything, but
Well, and I think with coaching, like you talked about philosophy, like pace, slowing the game down, running plays or up tempo or full court press or, whatever the philosophy for your team is. I've had a lot of coaches try to fit square pegs into round holes. And that is an absolute red flag for me. I think coaching as the head coach, like you talked about, skill coaches playing overseas and stuff, I've had that as well. There's one thing, like you're going to take what they say, a little bit more specifically. I had a coach who played at ASU. He went head to head against like Jason Gardner. And and he played overseas for 10 years. I'm going to take everything he says and try to be a sponge. Cause that dude did, he played at the high levels. But then, a head coach who, played just at JUCO and then never really could make it, who's a 5'9" white guy. Don't tell me kind of how to play the game in a sense, because you can never play it. So I think at that point, coaching more becomes about knowing how to lead men and how to handle and communicate with different personalities, especially at the JUCO level, because everyone has my coach said, we're a bunch of knuckleheads. you're there for a reason because something didn't work out. And so for me, it was always about how they communicated. Art Dye is the best coach I've ever had. He ironically coached us when we were super young, and he coached, kids all the way through high school and whatnot. So, because of his way of communicating with his players, even at such a young age. But then I had coaches all the way through high school and college who have their own ego, who they need to coach for the sake of coaching. And they weren't good at telling, I don't want to say they weren't good at communicating with different personalities and getting people to mesh. They wanted it to be their way or the highway. And so I think when it comes down to coaching, it's much more of like a director on a movie set. You got to know how to communicate with your lead actors. And I think that was my thing with that respect level with your players and the coach. And my goodness, have I had a fair share of shitty ass coaches that we will get into on another pod. But but this coach sounds like you're making him sound like he's a decent guy, and you would play for him.
Oh no, for sure. And he lets the players kind of like, be themselves. I mean, hell, the John dude fucking tears up the Joe dude fucking tears up the locker almost every other game because he's pissed off at the calls he's getting, or because he's not starting. He just runs in the locker room, just starts fucking throwing chairs and like hitting the fucking lockers. Sorry about that. And
wait, is this the dude? I've heard whispers. Is this the guy who said, "Coach, take me out. I can't right now."
Yeah.
He goes to the locker room and starts seething.
Yeah.
That's this dude.
Yeah.
If I watch it, I'm gonna giggle at that part because that's ridiculous.
No, that's my point with this kid. Like, he's just a fuck. Like, it's just a fuck. And but no, the coach, like I said, the coach does care like about his players. So he's obviously trying to help you. I mean, hell, he's trying to help this kid. And he didn't even recruit the kid.
Right.
And he's helping him to get any opportunity he can. And he really does take advantage of that in the sense that he's just being spoiled. The player. I mean, right. The coach. He's really, he's intense. I think he is a player's coach. He does try to communicate with his players, his philosophies and stuff like that, but he doesn't try to, I would say, he doesn't try to enforce you. Does that make sense? Like, yeah, he's going to run you and stuff like that, but that's just what coaches do whenever they just feel like they need to do that for the bad apples on the fucking team, and it just penalizes everybody. Just because you're a team. Yeah. But I think he's he's someone I play for. I think he has the players back. So. Yeah.
Well, yeah, what you said about, making people run for the bad apples and stuff. I mean, that could be a whole podcast on what it means to be a good coach, as to disciplinary actions and getting everyone on the same page. Do you think I should watch it? Do you recommend me watching the show?
Honestly, it's up to you. I like after the first episode, like, I really want to keep watching this, but then I was like, let's just see where it goes. Cause I was hoping maybe there'll be a little bit more drama filled. But then again, football is football, and football is just going to be more drama filled than I think basketball will be, as far as like, players could get hurt in practice. Players get hurt in the fucking game in week 1 and not be hurt the whole season. And now they got to figure out, well, what the hell am I to do? And some players in football, like in the past seasons with the, Last Chance U, the football series.
Malik Henry.
Some of those players got concussions and they were like, no, I'm fine. They were lying about everything because they knew that was their last opportunity to play. Malik Henry, that's a whole different story if we want to talk about that. That kid, I would compare him to this kid.
And Malik
was a 5-star recruit, had every opportunity, but yet was a fuck.
Well,
And,
see,
and and we could say maybe he had mental illnesses and shit like that. You had depression, whatever the fuck you want to say. If you're gonna do that, then you just don't need to be playing sports. I'm not saying that mental illness isn't serious because it is, but
but he was entitled.
that's
He,
my point. If you want to have this ego, and then all of a sudden when shit's not going your way, then say it's something else. I have an issue with that. Um, this kid was literally, granted, maybe he didn't want to play football as a kid. He wanted to play baseball. And maybe he would have been a better baseball player than he was football. And he's a great football player, don't get me wrong. All-American in high school, went to Florida State. I think he was behind Jameis Winston, wasn't he?
yeah, it was. I think after that, it was like Francois or whatever beat him out, and then there was the weird situation there. He just like left the team.
Yeah, and I compared this kid Joe Hampton to Malik Henry in a sense that they just feel entitled, and if you're having to go to a JUCO because you're a fuck, you shouldn't have entitlement. You should go in there, do what you got to do, and get the fuck out. That's really what JUCO is when you're coming from a higher level, because you're already gonna because like coaches are already gonna be weary of you, but there's gonna be a mid-major or somebody that's gonna give you that opportunity because they know the talent you have. You might not get back to being at the top five, the power five, but
I mean, you're probably not going to go from Duke to a JUCO to North Carolina. I mean, I'm sure that happens too, but
Cam Newton's probably the only player that I could think of and maybe there's been others, but Cam Newton for sure is the one that was at Florida State and then went to fucking JUCO and then ended up going to Auburn and winning the title.
well, and with basketball, it's just different than football because, like football, like you said, it's truly is their last chance because there's only one real path to get into the NFL. You have to go through school. It's very rare when you can go to Canada or somewhere else and arena football or something. Like you have to make it through college 99% of the time, I'd say. Whereas basketball, you see guys like PJ Tucker or there's NBA examples where they go and you can make a name for yourself overseas. And then actually make the NBA, or you can be a hidden gem where, you go and make it to the G League. So that's why a lot of basketball players hold on to the dream longer. Also you can play the game longer. There's more opportunity outside of just the NBA to make money, to have a career. And so with football, the drama of you're a sophomore with terrible grades and you barely have any schools looking at you and you're from nowhere is just, it's built in, it's off rip. And in basketball, these kids that don't make it, you can still grind, you can still try to get overseas other ways. And I don't know if any of these kids are going to make the NBA because to me, the NBA it's more about situation outside of just pure talent and skill. But, I don't see JUCO as a last chance, period. I only went to JUCO because I was getting old enough to, like, if I want to go still try the college route, that was my last chance to maybe like, shit, you don't go JUCO at 25, you know what I mean? So like, but it's not your last chance to ever play professional basketball. So I just, like you said, the drama, I don't think it's built in like it would be football outside of the actual playing and injuries and all kinds of stuff. Just straight up, I see JUCO as just a stepping stone, and so I don't know. I think I may just keep watching True Detective instead of Last Chance U.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's really just if you want to. I mean,
right.
I might watch the second. If there's another season, I may watch it just because I want to see what the fuck happens. But it's not that interesting, I think, really at all. I think if you're a basketball player, whether or not you went to JUCO or not, I think you understand the struggle, the grind that it takes. And we all know there's people with those tendencies that have ego. And then, all you could do is just be like, look, that's your fault. You had the opportunity. You were given multiple chances to do what you want, to do the right thing, but you didn't. You chose not to. So I think, I think this show, they're the same old story. As far as the football stuff goes, like I said, I think maybe because I'm not a football player, maybe that was more interesting to me. And this, I am a basketball player. I grew up playing really nothing but basketball. And so maybe that's why, and like I said, we both said hit a little home as far as like how we just looked at it and how I looked at it and saw and how I just seen certain things that just triggered me to be like, it's your fault. You definitely could have changed that if you wanted to, but you chose not to. And also too, I mean, like I said, it's all about situation, and you're seeing that now that it's all about situation and, who puts the recruiting into you. If they're not recruiting you, it really doesn't matter what happens or how good you are. You have to be on their radar, whatever school it may be. Those people needed something. They needed to invest in you or want to invest in you to give you that opportunity. You can't just come in, and like that's why like people that come in for tryouts usually aren't there at the end of the season. They're usually not there mid-season. They'll be there at the beginning because they're telling them, well, we can get you on as a red shirt. And I've seen this happen. I've seen this happen to multiple people where they're told they'll be able to work hard, but yet they're not going to get that opportunity. That's so rare that happens. That it's just don't believe it. Just you're better off trying to go to multiple schools, go to multiple tryouts. If there's any advice that anyone ever wants to hear or needs to hear, and you're not being recruited by a coach, go to multiple tryouts. Just go to multiple schools and just go to the open gym and do what you can, because if they're not willingly to ask you what you're doing or where'd you play or any of that, then they're not invested in you. They're not interested in you at all. So you have to go out there and really just go, because if you don't, you're going to put all your time and effort into one school and hoping that they pick you up. You're wasting your time, because there's more opportunity out there somewhere else than trying to fight for one school that doesn't really even care or really even know you exist.
Right. No, and I think, like I said, if we want to if you guys, the viewers, want to hear more of our personal journeys, because I think our stories might be more compelling than Last Chance U.
Oh, for sure. But I think so too. But also kids, they're like the majority of them are 18, 19, maybe 20. I mean, hell, we've lived, a whole life of that prior to what they've done. So.
Right. And I just feel like, but I mean, because I know some people, like I said, want to know what happened with us. And we do have experience dealing with like this specific stuff, and we play basketball with a lot of people. A lot of people might be interested in knowing the ins and outs of our stories. So let us know. I mean, if you guys want to hear how we got to being podcast hosts instead of in the NBA. But no, yeah.
So, well, what?
Oh no, I was just gonna say it was, I think touching on the Last Chance U show. I think this is an interesting episode of the Test Run podcast. Although I haven't seen it, I can relate to a lot of it.
For sure. Like just like the All-Star game, you could predict what the hell happened.
Right, and same thing with JUCO. A lot of suicides, entitlement, ego. Just not my cup of water. If I could do it all over again, I might have played chess, because I didn't have to rely on situation and opportunity to be a chess champion. That's my advice to you kids out there.
And just for the record, the best player I've ever played with was at New Mexico, and he was a D1 transfer. And that goes to show you that he didn't have an ego where like he didn't think he needed to work hard. And he was clearly the best player on our team, and in my opinion, probably the conference. Dude could have easily went, played overseas. He did, he played a little bit, like a little stint, like after his junior year, then came, but it wasn't like he got paid. He just went over, did like a little Euro thing, came back, killed his senior season. The guy was crazy. Shout out TJ Riley, literally probably the best player that I've ever played with. Took a lot of knowledge from him, whether, I told him this or not, but like I definitely took a lot of like little knickknacks here and there, because he was the starting two on the team. So I had I wasn't, like I said, I was a freshman, so I really wasn't in the rotation at the time. But, I had to guard the guy in open gym and in practice at times. So, I just took little things from him, and from him to come from a Division I school and then to play here at Western New Mexico, he definitely did not have the ego that you would think, that a Division I player should have. And that just goes to show you that he just had class and professionalism. And that, I'm saying that's rare to see in certain players, that how we were talking about that come from a Division I program down and think they're entitled to everything. No, this kid, he actually worked hard and he had the talent to back it up. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to say shout out to him. And that was like just that, if you just go in there, do what you're supposed to do, and you're literally the better player, that's going to show.
Yeah, no. And, I appreciate shouting TJ out. Never met you, Tej, but thanks for giving my dog buckets in open gym and practice. And like I said, if you guys want to hear more about us, our personal, so I know a lot of the viewers at this point are know you more than they know me. But yeah, we have a lot of experiences and we play with a lot of people. So like, let us know if you guys want to hear more about why you'd ever even want to listen to us talk about basketball, because we could just be some random bums from LA Fitness. But
giving
those
you
of you,
buckets and you just think we're just there.
yeah, I'm wearing an icy t-shirt, so I don't instill fear in anyone on the hardwood, but trust, I got a fucking glizzy right here. I got a chopper, so I got a burner. But yeah, let us know and let us know what y'all thought of Last Chance U, and if I should even watch it or not. Probably won't.
Oh yeah, but I mean, we just had to throw I just felt like we do the that injustice of not even just bringing that shit up.
Right.
Just giving you a little snippet of how I felt about it. And, Aaron, obviously, Cave, obviously, could build off of that, because it's really just something we both kind of been through as far as our careers went, and kind of experienced some of the similarities in the show. And yeah, I just thought it was a nice topic to talk about. But, next podcast, we'll get back to the NBA and all that other good shit.
Yeah, Devin Booker would not average 12 points a game in the 80s. That's what I hear from my co-host. Devin Booker's trash. Let me know down in the comments if Devin Booker's garbage or not. That's what I keep hearing.
We'll get back to the shits next podcast, y'all.
All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Test Run Podcast. I'm Quest Sparrow. This is my boy Magnet.
Remember, like, comment, subscribe. Tell us how good of a job we're doing.
Or how shitty a job I am at basketball. Shit. All right, y'all. Street.